All right, so today we're going to learn how to use the Curvature tool to create these little characters. Okay, so we're also going to learn how to use a template to guide us through the process. We're also going to learn how to use the smoothing tool, which helps smooth out our lines. All right, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go to File, New, and create a new document. We're just going to go ahead and do regular letter size. I'm going to change the orientation to landscape, one artboard, and I'm going to name it first initial, last name, period, number, and then curvature. And then hit create. All right, so we're going to put that document in here. So I'm going to go to File, I'm going to go to Place, and then I'm going to navigate to the local C drive, or to the, to my computer, which is, or this PC. And then I'm going to go to the shared drive, click on Grand Terrace High School, Graphic Design 1, and I'm going to open up this Curvature tool folder, click on Redraw, and then down here, before I double click to open it, I'm just going to click on Template. And what that does, I'm going to unlink it. What that does is when you bring it in to your document, it creates a template layer, and it locks that layer so you can't move this guy. Okay, but it also gives you a second layer, which is your working layer. Okay, so that's why we bring it in that way. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the curvature tool is located right here, and what it does, it just draws curves. Okay, that's it. When you start using it, you're like, what is going on? All I can do is draw a circle. Okay, so this tool is a little bit easier to use and to control than the pen tool, which we have used before in the past. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to turn off my fill color, because when I have a fill color on and I create my lines, I'm going to show you what happens. So when I start drawing, it's going to fill in that color and I can't see what's going on underneath it. So if I turn off the fill, it makes it transparent. So at least I have the line and I can see what's going on behind that line. Okay. All right, so before we start, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my smart guide. So I'm going to go to Window and make sure that, I can't see it under my little record button, make sure that my go to View, sorry, not Window, View, make sure that my smart guides are shut off. So I'm going to just click on that box and turn them off. Okay, so now they are no longer on. That's just because when you're using the curvature tool, it tends to want to kind of guide you on where it thinks you should go, and sometimes we don't want that. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to zoom in really close. Okay, so the trick with the curvature tool is it creates circles, right? It creates a curve. So what I'm going to do is click one time, and then I'm going to click over here, and it just creates a straight line. And that's okay, because when you start clicking, that's when the curves start to take effect. So if I clicked here and then I click back up here, that's not quite what I want, right? So when you're making an oval or a circle, you typically want to have 4 points, okay? 3, 4, back at the start, all right? So it's a little off, and that's okay. All right, so the next thing you're going to do is the same thing for the inner eye. So click once, twice, 3 times, and back to the start. Okay, so you want that little circle to appear right below my cursor. That little circle says, okay, this is your starting point. This is where it's going to close. Okay, so go ahead and fill in those circles. All right, so the next part is a little bit tricky, and it takes a minute to get used to. So follow along, and you will get this. All right, so the less anchor points you have, the better your object is going to look. And that's because the more anchor points you have, it kind of chops it up a little bit, makes it look a little bit rougher. Okay, so I'm going to do this in as few anchor points as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, and then my instinct is to go, okay, what do I do now? So we want to go to where the curve is at its apex. All right, so it's somewhere about here. Okay, and then you see it start to round, and then you come down here and you're like, oh, okay, what's going on? So your instinct is to go here, but if I go a little bit further to where the center of that curve is, I click, then if you notice when I come down here and I let go, it kind of snaps to that curve. Okay, so this takes a little bit of getting used to. I'm going to repeat that process. So you kind of want to go to the center of wherever the curve is. And if you make a mistake, it's okay. I'm going to show you how to go back and fix your mistakes. It's super easy. So remember, we want to do the least amount of points possible when dragging or when drawing out with the curvature tool. And mine's looking a little rough, and that's okay. Like I said, I'm going to show you how to go in here and fix it. Remember, a circle should have at least 4 points. It's kind of a circle. All right, so it's a little off, and that's okay. You can leave it like that, or you can use your direct select tool right here, the white arrow, to kind of modify those points if you want to. And if you just double click, it pulls out the anchor points, and then you can just kind of move them and adjust them using your handles. And this is more an advanced feature, but go ahead and see if you can fix your slight mistakes. So might get a little crazy and do something like that. Control Z is your best friend. Okay, remember that. Every project, Control Z, Control Z. All right, so it's looking okay. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. We're just learning how to use the tool. Okay, so now what you can do is come back in here and fill these colors in. Okay, so this eyeball can be black. This guy, this part right here can be white. And then the outside or his body, let's go ahead and make that green. Reminds me of like The Simpsons. Okay, so when I did his body, it put his body on top of his eyeball. So I just need to send it to the back. So if I go to edit, edit, is it under edit? Sorry, it's object, transform, or arrange. Okay, so it's arrange. So I need to send it to the back. So I'm going to go object, arrange, send to back. Okay, and then his eyeball is still not white, so it didn't grab that color when I changed it. All right, there we go. So it looks like the Simpsons monster. Okay, so you can do the outline for all of these and then come back and recolor them later if you want to. All right, so the next one, I'm going to show you how to make a straight line. You're like, but wait, I thought we were using the curvature tool. We are, but it also does straight lines, so you don't have to navigate to a different tool. The trick is to double click. So if I double click, double click, double click, double click. Oh, it's filling in with white, so I need to shut it off, the fill. So I can just drag over here and click on no fill. All right, so double click. Okay, if I don't double click, that's what's going to happen. Okay, it's going to give me a curve, and that's not what I want. So I can go back. If I hit backspace one time, it'll take me back, but then I need to grab that anchor point. So just click on it. I need to double click, and then double click. I can continue. Okay, so you might need to talk to yourself in your head and say, okay, don't forget to double click. So straight lines, double click. Oh, and then let's try that one more time. Control Z. I had it, and then I double clicked on it, and it released um, the point. All right, so for this one, it's a little bit tricky. Okay, it's kind of like the alien, but it's not. It doesn't have as many little curvy legs. All right, so I'm going to start at the top right here. So I'm going to click and click and click right about there. When I get right here, I'm going to click again, and then I get right here, I'll click again. Okay, so we've got some issues, so I'm going to go ahead and start over with that. All right, so for one like this, I would probably start right about here. So what I'm going to do is click one time, and then click right about in the center of the curve, and then again right at the top. So the next, if you look at the next part, it's a change of direction. So it's a corner. So I'm going to have to double click to make that straight line. Okay, double click, get a straight line, double click, double click, double click. Okay, and now I'm out of that straight line. Go to this one. Let's see if I can do it. If I go, I don't know. I'll probably just go right here. And then go to that corner right there. And it is a change of direction, but it's not a straight line. Okay, but we still need to double click. Okay, so double click, click. And then you're like, but it's a straight line. But when I pull, it's going to give me a curve. Go about halfway down. Remember, you want to do this in the least amount of anchor points as possible. That way you are have a nice smooth line. So I need to double click here, double click here, click right about here, and then I think I can double click. Let's see if I double clicked there. Yeah, so if I double click there, it's not going to give me the round. So what I need to do is click about halfway through that apex and then come down to right about there and double click, and then I can go straight line, but I need to double click because it's a corner to change your direction. Double click, 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 and it's a straight line, so double click and then go across, double click. All right, so I got this little piece right here that I need to fix, so I can use my direct select tool to come in here and modify that a little bit. So depending on which point I want to pull out, so if I click on the handle, I can adjust it. And again, it's not a huge deal if it's off a little bit. We're learning how to use it, and the more you use it, the easier it will get. Okay, and you can just adjust it. All right, so let's talk about this centerpiece right here. So let's go ahead and use our curvature tool. I'm going to double click because I have a straight line. I'm going to double click to end my straight line. I'm going to go to the middle of the apex or the curve. Oops, I double clicked. Come back up here, grab that anchor point, click, click, oop, double click, click, and then click. Okay, and then for his eyes, so remember a circle or an oval is usually 4. Once you start clicking, it'll create those anchor points and close it up. Okay. All right, so I notice like right here, it's a little rough. Okay, so what I would do is come in here and grab the smooth tool. So the smooth tool is usually located underneath, oops, underneath the shaper tool. Okay, so if I click here and I go to the smooth tool, I can come in here and, oop, I need to actually select my object. So you have to select it, go to your smooth tool, and then if I click on that anchor point, it's going to kind of smooth it out for me. Just be careful because sometimes it does too good of a job, like that one. All right, so, and I'm not sure I'm liking this piece right here. There we go. All right, so you can probably do something like that here. If you're not liking how the anchor points are looking, grab the smooth tool and drag on the line. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. All right. So the last one is the owl. I want you guys to try that on your own. think about the tools, the clicking, the corners, the change in direction that we just went through with the other ones, and see what you can figure out, and then come back in and color all of your fun shapes. Okay, so you may be asking with this part, why didn't I just use, the rectangle tool, draw out a rectangle and do the corner widgets? That's what I would have done, but we're learning how to use the curvature tool, so we use the curvature tool. Okay, when you are all done, you're going to save it to your student U drive. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, click on this PC, go to your student U drive, create a new folder, and title it Curvature Tool, and then go ahead and place it right in there, and then hit Save, hit OK, and then you're going to export it. So go to File, Export, Export As, oops, and you're going to export it to the Turnitin drive. So export as, locate this PC, go to the Turnitin assignment, locate Grand Terrace High School, Graphic Design 1, your period number, and I'm creating a folder titled Curvature. Okay, so go ahead and put it in there. I think I spelled that one wrong. And then just make sure to change your file type to a PNG file. And then hit export. And then change your resolution to high. And then hit OK.